sending mixed signals that if Iran had done this or that, it would have been better for the nation. Of course, Iran came to the negotiation table with truth, with goodwill, so to speak. And after the U.S. President Trump withdrew his country from the Accord last year, and then bringing back some of the older, more familiar sanctions against Iran. But this one, make no mistake, this is a whole different league of action, if I may say so, against the will of the American people. Martyring General Soleimani, you have no idea. So let's just bring in Michael Santamora, a journalist in South Carolina. Michael, I already asked you about how it can play well if, to speak, in the hands of President Trump and his team in order to get him reelected next year. But at the same time, don't you think that, it's a double-edged sword? So much as it can help him get reelected, it can actually be the end of him, because right now, as I speak to you, I have reactions from within America that a lot of people saying that, we were not consulted before this happened. And, well, of course, it goes without saying they fear the consequences.
Well, I think this action isolated will not affect him in his voting power or whatever votes he can get when he runs for reelection. But I have to disagree with the person from London that I was listening to. It's important to keep in mind that Trump only won by 77,000 votes in the battleground states. It's my contention that the overwhelming majority of those 77,000 votes would be what we call here in the United States white nationalists, along the lines of a Steve Bannon or even a Stephen Miller. They don't. In the case of Stephen Miller, that would be a bad example because he's a neocon. He wants this war. He wants a wider scale conflict with Iran because it's like fighting a war for Israel. But a lot of those 77,000 votes that Trump won in the battleground states, which I contend to be overwhelming white nationalists, they don't want to see a war conducted on behalf of Israel. A lot of those white nationalists are very hip to the neocons in this country, the neocon think tanks. They're very hip to the idea of the Israel lobby being very powerful here in the United States. They would not want to see us having body bags coming back to the United States because we got into a conflict with Iran. The best sensible thing that I think can happen, and I think Iran is forced to give some kind of response. Hopefully it will be proportional, and that will be the end of it a few weeks down the road. But if Trump falls into the trap and starts listening to people like Stephen Miller and his son-in-law Kushner, then I don't see how he can win re-election, and then we'll get a lot of protests here in the United States. We don't even understand why we're in that part of the world. People who are peace activists here in the United States will be protesting on the streets, getting the message out there that this is the wrong approach. There should not be hundreds or thousands of body bags coming back, fighting a wider conflict with Iran.
Sure. Of course, it goes without saying, Michael, that, people in America, as you just mentioned, hate to see those body bags coming into America again. The example of which we witnessed during the years of Bush, President Bush of America, people, American service people, their bodies coming into their families day in, day out in different air bases in America. This is a scene, I'm pretty sure, that within America, people hate to see their children being killed. But unfortunately, I think that, this has to be prevented, isn't it? This has to be prevented by people. If you want to exert pressure on a nation, if you have your own political thoughts, that's a different theory. That's not what we're discussing right now. But
no.
But hey, you are actually upping the ante. You are martyring, killing figures who are very, very popular, who are very respected within a whole nation of 80 million, a strategic one, mind you, a powerhouse in the Middle East. one can only imagine what was going on. You know, Michael, if this had happened during the time of people like Michael Bolton, Mr. Bolton, yeah. If this had happened, you know, under him, under his guidance or advice, you know, people would be less surprised, I guess. You know, I wonder who has actually given the initial thought of doing something like that to the American administration.
Well, yeah, you were thinking of the rock star Michael Bolton, John Bolton.
John Bolton, yes.
Right. And while Bolton's out of the administration, and the reason why he's out of the administration, well, there's may be other reasons that we're not going to know until the impeachment hearings, but generally what we know now is that John Bolton has been a war hawk, and Trump was always in disagreement with him about expanding presence in that region. Even though publicly he's been telling the American people in his speeches that he's bringing back soldiers, he's been increasing soldiers in that region. This is something that I can't figure out about Trump. But in answer to your question, the only people I can think of that are telling him this is Stephen Miller, who is a neocon, happens to be a Jewish American. Some people consider him a white nationalist. He's not only a white nationalist.
یا تک تک نیروları به منطقه‌dan çekeceksen, پایگاهları یا برای تک تک سربازان تروریستین تا آمریکا مرگ آمریکا آمریکا اسرائیل نابودیت نزدیک آمریکا اسرائیل نابودیت نزدیک تک تک bu zamanlar تک تک bu Hizbullah'lar تک تک bu Mesih'tiler hamısı binlerin bir Qasım Süleyman'ıdılar فرمانده şehidler rahat ادامه دارد فرمانده شهیدان راحت ادامه دارد سپاهی دلاور انتقام انتقام سپاهی دلاور انتقام انتقام ضمن تقدیر و تشکر از حضور گرم و انقلابی از امت حزب الله که به محض شنیدن خبر شهادت سردار سلیمانی و بزرگواران همرس می‌داره بیرونların bu tür aşıkane ve huzur hamasız huzur taptız bu rahmemayda evvelin ahirin sahibimiz Hazreti Veli Azar bu Allah'ın feda Allahümme inna neşku ileyke fıqd nebiyyina ve gaybete veliyyina ya sahib az zaman hardasın sana tesliyet arz edilir با دعای سلامتی وجود نازنین حضرت ولی است که استغاثه edirik ağamızın məhzərinə pənah aparıq ağamızın məhzərinə ki özü gələ inşallah şəhidlərin intiqamını ala hamımız ruh ve qiblə duayı selaməti ağa imam zamanı qiraət eləyək siz əzvə Allah'a tapşıraq Bismillahirrahmanirrahim Allahümme مرگ بر ضد ولایت فقیر مرگ بر ضد ولایت فقیر
عنایت کنید عظمت اسلام و مسلمین بلند صلوات خط بفرمایید. بله. یک بار دیگر هم تشکر میکنیم از حضور همه شما خواهران و برادران. اعلام
Bəli, Seyid Həsən Nəsrullah da bu günləri dedi, bu böyük şəhadətə mən qibtə edirəm. Amma biz ki